Throughout history, the written word has been a powerful tool for expression and reflection, but also a target for control. Books deemed dangerous have been banned, burned, censored, read in secret, walled up, or memorized to prevent their destruction. But what makes mere words so dangerous? Forbidden to read. A brief history of censorship. To understand censorship, we must first go back to its origins. In ancient Rome, censors were magistrates responsible for overseeing public morals and citizens' behavior. Alongside organizing population and wealth censuses, they determined who was worthy of being part of society. Those deemed immoral were excluded. This power of control extended to written texts. If an author expressed subversive or dangerous ideas, censors could ban or destroy their works. Thus, the word censorship became associated with the suppression or alteration of ideas, and its application spread from Rome to the Middle Ages and beyond. But censorship predates Rome. In ancient Greece, certain ideas were also considered dangerous. One example is Protagoras, a 5th century BC philosopher who questioned the existence of the gods in his work On the Gods. His books were burned, and he was forced to flee Athens. With the spread of Christianity, censorship became a mechanism for controlling faith. In the Middle Ages, the Church determined which books were acceptable and which were not. Heresies were harshly punished. Writings by thinkers like Arnold or Brescia or Jan Hus were condemned, and their followers persecuted. Translating the Bible into vernacular languages was also forbidden, as it was believed only clergy could interpret it. A symbolic episode was the burning of the books in Paris in 1242. Copies of the Talmud, Judaism's sacred text, were destroyed after being declared heretical. In Spain, the strictest control over books was exercised by the Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition, established in 1478 at the request of the Catholic monarchs, persecuted not only heretics but also dangerous ideas, maintaining a tight grip over what could be printed, read, or circulated in the country. Unlike other European nations, Spain developed its own institutional censorship, directly controlled by the monarchy rather than the Pope. The Spanish Inquisition acted as an instrument of state absolutism, often in tension with Rome. Inquisitors reviewed books, dictated what could be read, and created lists of prohibited works. No book could be printed without a license, and if authorized, it received an exclusive 10-year printing privilege. A key target was Bible translations. Reading was only allowed in Latin. Any attempt to translate it into Spanish could lead to severe punishments, even the stake. A clear example is the so-called Bear Bible, translated in 1569 by the monk Casidora de Reina. It was the first complete translation of the Bible into Spanish. Its cover depicted a bear reaching for a beehive, and it had to be printed outside Spain, since translating sacred texts was banned by the Council of Trent. Censorship reached its peak with the Index of Prohibited Books, a list launched in 1559 with 700 titles and updated for centuries. Books were categorized by language, and if a work was banned in one, it was banned in all. This list included theological, scientific, and literary works that challenged established morals. Authors like Luther, Galileo, Erasmus, Copernicus, or Descartes were censored. In the 16th century, owning certain books could lead to a death sentence. Some were burned in autos de fe, others were expurgated, meaning problematic fragments were blacked out. Spain's National Library preserves many such mutilated copies, with torn pages or erased words, silent witnesses of censorship. One of the most famous cases was the censorship of Lazarillo de Tormes. In expurgated editions, criticism of the clergy and religious hypocrisy was removed. Even Golden Age theatre faced censorship. Before being performed, plays underwent double scrutiny, civil and ecclesiastical. They could only be staged with a license, and even then, many suffered post-approval edits that altered the original text. It was not until 1966 that Pope Paul VI officially abolished the Index, though some titles remained deemed inappropriate. In the 19th century, after the Peninsular War, censorship became a political tool. Under the rule of Ferdinand VII, any liberal or anti-absolutist idea was repressed. Newspapers and books supporting the 1812 Constitution or the ideals of the French Revolution were banned. The Inquisition was reinstated and was not definitively abolished until 1834 during the regency of Maria Cristina. Not only books were censored, satirical newspapers like La Flaca faced constant repression and had to change their name to evade censorship. Another example was La Traca, a Valencian anti-clerical humour publication, which disappeared and reappeared several times between the late 19th and early 20th century. In the 20th century, during Franco's regime, 1939 to 1975, Spain endured one of the harshest censorship systems. Literature, press, cinema, and even music were tightly controlled. Any work that criticized the regime or included democratic or morally inappropriate ideas was banned or altered. Authors like Federico Garcia Lorca, Miguel Hernández, or Camilo José Cela were censored. Cela's novel, The Hive, had to be published in Argentina due to its critical and realistic depiction of Spanish society. Women writers did not escape either. Nothing by Carmen Laforet, winner of the Nadal Prize in 1944, was heavily cut. References to poverty, repression, and women's roles were softened. Although it was a success, censors called it morbid and without literary value, but it was finally authorized after content modifications. Theatre and cinema were also closely monitored. Scripts were changed or foreign films dubbed with altered messages. One example is Miracles on Thursdays by Luis Garcia Berlanga, whose script was modified so that the miracle actually occurred, softening the criticism of the church. In 1992, a hidden library was discovered behind a wall in Baracota, Badajoz, sealed in the mid-16th century to protect its owner from the Inquisition. Among the books found was an unknown edition of Lazarillo and a Latin edition of Erasmus of Rotterdam's Lingua. Many were listed in the 1559 Index. Not all banned books were so lucky. The National Library of Spain preserves many censored texts from the 16th to the 19th centuries. A highlight is the Usos collection, compiled by bibliophile Luis de Usos y Rio. It contains banned, censored or expurgated books with marginal notes, crossed-out lines and mutilations. One example is Passional Christi und Antichristi, with engravings by Lucas Cranach and commentary by Luther. Only one copy has survived in Spain, preserved in this collection. Equally important are the archives of the Council of the Inquisition, deposited in the National Library in 1848. These materials were used by censors to analyze texts and decide what to suppress. They allow us to understand how censors operated, how they justified controlling ideas, and how reading was a privilege reserved for those who did not challenge power. Today, in the digital age, the National Library of Spain has digitized many of these previously silenced or destroyed documents. Thanks to this effort, works like The Origin of the Species by Charles Darwin, banned for years due to its religious implications, are now available in their original versions and in the first Spanish translations. But if you think censorship is a thing of the past, you are mistaken. In recent years, there has been a rise in initiatives to remove books or cultural expressions from public and school spaces under moral or ideological pretexts. This new censorship limits access to critical thinking and cultural diversity. Digital censorship is also on the rise, exercised by algorithms that filter and moderate content on social media. These systems, with their biases, can promote self-censorship and restrict freedom of expression, shaping the information we receive. Each banned book is a testament to the fear that ideas provoke. But history has taught us one thing: words, ideas, cannot be silenced forever. What was once forbidden is now heritage and accessible to all.